Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Lucky Loaders 15 Horse Racing Podcast with me, your host, Chris Loader, and I'm joined by our guest panelists this week, Marcus and Rupert, and we're going to be discussing all things Ladbrokes Winter Carnival at Newbury, as well as reviewing the Newcastle Fighting Fifth, and there's some good Grade 1 action in Ireland on Sunday. We'll be giving our thoughts and feelings and giving you some tips as well to hopefully get some winners. Now, it was very disappointing last week from some of our selections. We both, or I should say, we all got the Altior and Bristol Demai selections wrong. We're just going to talk about, before we get into the action, about our opinion on it. And yeah, guys, what do we think about Altior? Did he stay the trip, or should he go back to 2 miles?
I don't think he looked the same horse. I think he had every chance. It'd be interesting. I just don't think he looked the same horse. I think he had every chance. Certainly wouldn't be stepping him up in trip. It just didn't pick up, did he? He looked quite lackluster. There might be the excuse of he maybe needed the run, but the ground as well. But you certainly wouldn't be touching him at a short price next time out after that performance. I mean, he was running against Surname. Surname could potentially be a superstar, but just didn't look the same horse to me. Be against him next time out anyway.
Did you think Altior was disappointing, Rupert?
Well, I mean, he didn't finish that far behind Surname. It was his first run out, first try at the trip. Yeah, I mean, I certainly wouldn't go back to the Champion Chase route. I still think I still think it's worth going just for the sake of the sport and seeing if he can actually perform in the King George. It's hard to tell with these things. He didn't look that good last year. Didn't look unbeatable last year, and he didn't look overly sharp here. But he still didn't get beat far, and I still think it's worth another try. I certainly wouldn't be giving up now and going to the Champion Chase.
No, I agree with you. I just think. Yeah, he looks.
I'm just saying there, Chris. I'm looking at King George. King George 5-1. It's too short for me, Altior, after that performance.
Yeah, the thing about Altior is I think it was interesting. I saw on Sky Sports Racing today, Matt Chapman was interviewing Nico de Boinville, and also as well Nicky Henderson in his comments to the press after the last few days. They haven't ruled out the King George. I think they're still tempted to go down that route. I mean, Nico de Boinville was really pushed by Matt Chapman today, and he said he kind of was hinting that they wanted to go down the King George path with him, which I don't know. I think he would get found out this season against the 2 milers. I think you bring in the likes of Duvan. Don't forget him. Like he made a very good win in return. There's that other Mullins horse that I can't pronounce. Yeah, that's the one.
Do you reckon they're going for the King George though? I mean, the jury's still out on where they're going, really. No, sorry. You're talking about the Champion Chase. Well, there's going to be definitely one of them, isn't there, that he'll have to face, along with Min. Sorry.
Even when you look at the Cheltenham run, it looked beat for one stage, and he managed to pull it out of the fire, right? And looking at the King George field, I think if he reopposes Surname over a further trip, I think Surname wins by further. Lost in Translation looks smart. Clandis Bo's got solid form. I mean, I'd have them 320 Alcazar over 3 months. Even surely not to see it.
Yeah, I mean, we can take a look at the King George market now, and there was a lot of money around for Surname after he won it. I personally thought Surname, I thought he looked a bit rusty, actually. When watching the race live, I thought, God, what a disappointing race. I just thought Surname, at some of his fences, he was a bit lazy, I thought. He made a couple of jumping errors and that, and I just think Altior put a lot of effort jumping those fences, and I don't know. I just wasn't really convinced. I thought actually it was quite a weak. I know they're the two best horses around, but I was just sitting there thinking, is this it? You know, like it just looked like two laboured horses. I think the ground was very testing that day.
Yeah, I agree completely. And I think that's when I go back to Altior, just that performance. I mean, Surname wasn't at his best, but Altior's beating comfortably, isn't he, as well? So, I mean, Lost in Translation looks smart as well. Visually very impressive. Up and comer, you know. I think Altior, it's a strange one. I think the trip's a big problem. I certainly wouldn't step up to 3. But then when they get found over 2 as well, it's a tough one.
Yeah, if we look at the market now, Surname's the 5-2 favourite. Lost in Translation, which we'll touch upon in a sec, at 11-4. Clan de Zobo at 11-2. There is actually 7s with a few firms for Altior. Then you've got Big Leap to Footpad at 14s, Duvan at 16s, and the rest are bigger. But yeah, I mean, it's looking like an interesting King George, whatever happens at the moment. Lost in Translation, what do we think about him? Do we think he could be the real deal this year over the 3-mile division?
Travelled like a dream, didn't he? Absolute dream, and he picked up as well. It looked like there was plenty left in the tank. I think flat track at Kempton's perfect. I think he's certainly one. I'd rather be on him than Altior over the trip anyway.
Yeah, he was very impressive. Whatever Robbie Power's riding at the moment, he's just
he's very well.
He's just a man and riding a great wave of form. Were you impressed by Lost in Translation, Rupert?
I think we said at the beginning, if he beats Bristol de Mai at Haydock on Bristol de Mai's seasonal reappearance, the horse came third in the Gold Cup, and was travelling well in the King George last time and has beaten him at its home ground. You've got to go, well, yeah, you just got to hold your hands up there and go, that's an exciting horse, really. I'd be
very comfortable as well.
Yeah, the jury's still a bit out on it for me, as I do think it's quite a deep race at the minute. It'd be interesting in the King George, and Surname, Lost in Translation are both very short. I'm not willing to see a betting line in at the minute, but I would put him as favourite over Surname personally. But yeah, I don't know what your thoughts are.
I think it'd be very ground dependent on the day. But you normally, the last few years, Kempton compared to a lot of other tracks, it's always more, you always see more good ground at Kempton than some of the other tracks in the winter, don't you? So it's not probably going to be a very testing King George. So that would definitely play into the hands of Surname, because he doesn't want the ground to, he doesn't want it getting too deep. But I think if I was playing now, I think Clan de Zobo at 11-2. I mean, if we were going for an each way bet, dirty each way bet, I mean, I'm not going to lie, I did get on him at the King George at 7-1, because he was pushed out for a little bit of a time, and I just thought I just was having a look at the market, and I was just thinking on the day, if everything's all well, Clan de Zobo will not be 7-1 for this race. He'll be. I see a lot of money coming for him really on the day. He could easily go off shorter than 4-1. I thought. So
solid as well. I mean, the Gold Cup form, King George form, and still an young horse as well. I mean, I think 5-1's got a big price.
Yeah, and it's a race that can throw up repeat winners, isn't it? Obviously, the likes of Quarter Star dominated this race many times, and I know that there have been comparisons with Clan de Zobo to Quarter Star from Nichols himself, like saying the potential that he could have. And also as well, remember how he came on for the run last year, Clan de Zobo? He finished 4th, didn't he, in Betfair Chase. And Harry Cobden was saying afterwards that he'll come on an absolute ton from it. And he ran a good race over in Ireland behind Road to Respect, who always wins first time out at Down Royal. So, yes, Clan de Zobo for me, I think, is the solid yardstick. But if Woody Mullins was to send over one of his guns, it'd be interesting to see which one he would. And they might have a squeak at a bigger price. But yeah, Yeah, I think that would be my play. So if we have to nail our colours to the mast for a King George selection, and it was going to be tomorrow, what would it be? Mine's Clan de Zobo. How about you, Marcus? Would you be on the Clan de Zobo bandwagon?
Yeah, I think that's in the each way bet, and the Clan does a ball each way.
Yeah, and for you, Rupert, who would you be with?
I'm gonna throw a spanner in the works. I'm gonna do a bit of a wild bet here. I think the best value there is Ladbrokes Ra. Won the 3 miler at the meeting last year. Beat Lost in Translation twice as a novice. I think pretty well. Obviously a really disappointing run in the Charlie Hall, but looked very exciting before that. I think at the odds there, I don't think you can go wrong with a small bet.
No, I think she could, if she did turn up, she could definitely certainly be a player. She'll get the mayor's allowance as well, which
beating top of the game in Peak and Santini when they were both, all guns blazing, that's very strong form at Kempton as well. So.
Yeah, definitely she could have a squeak. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting King George, and I just wish it was next week, to be honest, because it looks like it's going to be a cracking race. But anyway, we've got some decent action coming up that we're going to be getting our teeth stuck into. It normally doesn't really heat up at Newbury until the Saturday, but I just wanted to touch upon the long distance hurdle on the Friday, and it's actually got quite a nice little renewal to it. We've got the likes of Paisley Park making his seasonal reappearance. We've got the likes of Thistlecrack in there as well. So it looks like an interesting contest we've got coming up. And Paisley Park is the current favourite at 4-6. Thistlecrack at 11-2. You know what I mean, Harry at 6s. The World's End at 13-2. William Henry at 8s, and bigger are the rest. So I'll come to you, Rupert, with this one first. Paisley Park, solid favourite, going to win first time out?
Well, I mean, of course he's the right favourite. I made the mistake of taking this horse on in every race he ran last year, which was costly. I will probably make the same mistake again because I'd like to see Thistlecrack do it, and I think I speak for a lot of people there. I don't know whether I'd play a forecast option with Paisley Park and Thistlecrack. I mean, the World's End, and you know what I mean, Harry could perhaps disrupt that, but Thistlecrack, if he shows up, then he will, to a good bit of his ability, then you'd hope that he'd push Paisley Park to the limit, and that's what I'd be sort of playing. But yeah, that'd be my outlook on the race. I don't know what you're thinking.
What do you think, Marcus? Is Paisley Park a bit vulnerable, or would you just think he's too good for this lot?
I think if you look at the makeup of the race, he's sort of the young pretender up against the horses that are sort of past their best. I mean, Harry's 11 years old. If the cat fits, it was quite impressive last week. Had a hard race in off-level weights with Paisley Park. I mean, he's got a bit to find. World's End's got a bit. William Henry, again, unpredictable sort. In Thistlecrack, I think it's quite strange being back over hurdles. I mean, then if you look at that form behind Bristol de Mai, Clan de Zobo, especially Kemp, I mean, that form's solid. But then again, to me, it sort of looks like a prep run. An 11-year-old, is he going to be able to run up to that mark? I actually thought Beer Goggles was quite interesting at a price off a long layoff. Gets a slight weight allowance. Actually beat, you know what I mean, Harry, 2 years ago.
Thistlecrack.
Yeah, I think, and an 8-year-old as well. I mean, that could be an interesting each way bet if he turns up. But Paisley Park, looks like if the horse is fit, it's probably the one to be on. But I'll probably play. Hopefully, there's 8 runners. I'll probably play Beer Goggles each way at a price. If fit, I've got a chance. I think maybe make a place.
I think
it's a great race.
Yeah, I mean, Paisley Park. I mean, the only time I backed him, funnily enough, last season was actually when he won first time out at Aintree. After then, I was always against him. I just thought if you look at him the season before, a lot of things went wrong for him. He ran some nice races, but then things just kind of went by the wayside, and it just was. Yeah, I just had that niggling doubt at the back of my mind, but he just kept proving me wrong time after time. And as he kept winning, his price kept getting shorter, which was even more annoying.
He always finds the flat spot, Chris, doesn't he? He always finds a flat spot in the middle of the race where he runs on again. And I mean, amazingly, I backed him when he was at Doncaster. Got beat by Go With The Flow, unbelievable. But then again, I think just the step up in trips just produced this miraculous improvement. But he always hits that flat spot, and you never know if he's 100% fit. Maybe something could go away out in front. You don't know, get the fraction right and kick. But Thistlecrack probably likely to make the running. So
I mean, I thought actually there could be 3 horses in here that make the running. And I just thought it could play into his hands. And because you look at Thistlecrack, he likes to make the run. And Beer Goggles, when he won, made the run. And also as well, the World's End made the run in Wetherby last time. So
yeah,
I mean, it's quite that's how they like to normally hold him out the back, don't they? And he'll come with a late run. And I could just see maybe I think the danger to Paisley Park is Thistlecrack. But I just think Thistlecrack will improve for the run, where then it goes to the King George. But I mean, if I had to pick, I probably would just say Paisley Park. But I'm not going to get stuck in any market for it, and I probably maybe on the day I might just have a small stakes for maybe reminiscent sakes on Thistlecrack each way. But for me, yeah, it's just to sit back and watch race and maybe just try and work out some of the clues from it. I don't know about you. If we have to give a selection for the race, come to you first, Rupert. Paisley Park.
I'll go Thistlecrack, but if the field cuts up nicely in a right sort of way, then maybe a reverse forecast Thistlecrack, Paisley Park, bit of fun.
Yeah. And what about you, Marcus? Paisley Park all the way?
I like Thistlecrack, right? I just don't think he's going to be fully wound up for this.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's going to come on for the run. I'm going to, and I might even get into the places at a price.
Okay, that's an interesting angle. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting one to see what shapes the stayers market probably after the race, and we'll see how short Paisley Park will go if he does win, and maybe what he dress out to if he lost. But yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting race. Anyway, we'll move on now to the Saturday. This is going to be a complete waste of time, really. We'll just cover the Newcastle fight in 5th. Buveur is the current favourite. I'm not going to go into the rest of the prices because he's ridiculously short. Try and sum it up as quick as you can. Buveur, does he win?
Yeah. I think he wins doing hands, to be honest with you.
I hope Lady Buttons goes for the other race. I hope Kirby doesn't run Lady Buttons, which is my one thing.
No,
I really agree. Like. She's a really nice mare. Lady Buttons is a really nice mare. Especially over 2, just a big mare. I've got a lot of time for that horse. I don't think Bouveur's going to get that much shorter anyway if Lady Buttons comes out. I think it potentially 4's on, 3's on the day. Jumps it wins.
It's a hard one to really. It's a hard one to really call to take him on. Silver Streak is an interesting contender, but he doesn't. Evan Williams has always said he doesn't like the ground on the soft side for him. He prefers good ground. And he did run a blinder last year, Silver Streak, to be fair to him, to come third, I think, didn't he, in the Champion Hurdle. But yeah, I don't think he'll have anything to worry about. Do we think this may be going away from this race? But Buveur, I mean, I've done a bit of work for the Tote 10 to follow competition. And I've put Buveur in my team because I just think he's going to win this race, and I think he'll win the Christmas Hurdle. I just think he's not the forgotten horse, but because the division's so unknown, I think he's still about 5-1 in places. for the champion hurdle. Do you think that's a good bet at 5-1?
I think it's an incredible bet. I think it's an absolutely incredible bet. I'd be all over it.
Yeah. I mean, there was 5-1 earlier in the week. I'm not sure what it is now. I'll just have a look. Would you be so keen on backing Buveur, Marcus?
Yeah, I mean, after Classical Dream got cuffed, I mean, you'd want to be on then, wouldn't you? Would have got an even bigger price. Yeah, it looks value to me. He's only an 8-year-old as well. I mean, people say over 2 miles, bit of an ass. Usually a younger horsey sort of game in that sort of division, but still a classy horse, you know. Could win this. Wins doing hang springs. What price is going to be for the Christmas hurdle? It's not going to be 5, is it? You know? I don't think it's that strong sort of division as well this year. There's no superstar. I mean, Buveur going to be there, isn't it? On the day, going to be in the top 2-3 in the bet.
Yeah, I mean, if there's one that we haven't seen yet that maybe could pose a danger, but they always say that it's very hard for the younger horses to step up, is Pentland Hills. Obviously, we haven't seen him yet. I think he's meant to be going to the international hurdle at Cheltenham in a few weeks' time. I think that's what I heard Nicky Henderson say. But yeah, you don't get many 5-year-olds winning champion hurdles. Normally just a little bit older. So yeah, I think Buveur, if he wins Fighting Fifth and Christmas hurdle, he's going to be what, 2-1?
9-4. I don't think he'll come off the bridle.
No.
Fighting Fifth. Just cruise up, Barry Geraghty, cruise up and just quicken away.
Yeah, well, I mean, it'd be his 3rd win in the race in a row, so yeah, I think it's going to be quite an easy victory. So Buveur all round, guys.
Yeah.
We won't waste any more time talking about that. Now, the big race of the weekend, always a really good betting heat, is the Newbury Ladbrokes Trophy. I always call this one the Hennessy still. I just don't know why they just couldn't keep the name of the race, to be honest, because everybody still calls it the Hennessy. It'll probably take about another 25 years for people to start calling it the Ladbrokes Trophy instead of the Hennessy. But yeah, it's often won by some very good horses. We have the likes of Native River, win it a couple of years ago, obviously went on to win a Cheltenham Gold Cup. There's been other good horses as well, but last year kind of went against the trend of how the race has been going in recent years. And OK Corral is the current favourite at the moment. There's been a lot of money as well for Cabaret Queen at 7-1. On the blind side as well at 10s, Mr. Malarkey at 10s. Durasha Counter at 12s, Elegant Escape at 12s, and bigger of the rest. You can have as many as you like. And we can have a couple of selections each if we want, because it's going to be a tricky race. I'll come to Rupert first on this one. Who's on your shortlist for the race?
Oh, it's a bit of a minefield, this, to be honest. Like you just mentioned, I suppose the profile I'd normally look for would be that progressive, looking to that sort of former novice coming out and looking to, win some really good quality races. That sort of maybe future Gold Cup horse. But last year it didn't really happen.
It was a weird winner last year, wasn't it?
Size in Tennessee, and it's just put something in my mind that maybe, and we had a few races like that last year. That maybe just picking a experienced, classy horse may be the way to go. But I mean, there's plenty of both of them, to be honest, in this race. I suppose the one I'd say is I thought On the Blind Side ran a really good race at Ascot last time. I think he's got a race off this mark, but I don't know whether this is a bit too much. I don't know, maybe this is a bit too good. I suppose there's that interesting one at York Hill at 25-1. That's funny. that's just glaring me in the face. That would probably be my long lost bet. And also Regal Encore came second at Ascot last time, ahead of On the Blind Side. The ground will very much, I think, may play a part, but Yeah, I think it's a real betting minefield. They'd be the three I'd be looking for, to be honest, because I think Regal Encore, Anthony Honeyball's yard are in very good form. Started well. So is the Mullins yard. They're both classy and won't mind this hustle and bustle. It's always quite a tricky race and can get quite messy. And then on the blind side would perhaps be my younger, more progressive type that I'd go for. That's the way I'd play it.
Yeah, I agree with you with on the blind side. I'll make my argument for him in a minute. Marcus, who's on your radar for the race?
Do you know, I like to a price. Obviously, both are ground dependent. I think Some Chaos is quite interesting. Stable had a double yesterday at Musselburgh. The horses are running well. Run about a month ago, and respectively, but I think he'll come on for the run. Ground dependent, doesn't want it to get too soft. And if you look back at the form, it's a furrow stare. Won at Kelso, won at Wincanton on the good. And the form at Wincanton to me looks quite good. Heavy ground against him last time at Cheltenham. I think that one could be quite interesting. Only an 8-year-old. Stable in form. As another one as well, was dependent on the heavy ground. I quite liked David Pipe horse. Obviously, it refused to race 2 runs ago, which is obviously a concern. But I think that run over hurdles sort of prepping him. It's Dacklandike. I think that's got a little bit of a chance. The horses are running quite well. So, they're both 40-1 shots. But it's an each way bet for me. If you look at that form, the Ballyarthur form at Haydock on heavy ground, if he can reproduce that, he's got a good chance. Again, a further stay there. And if it's heavy, it'll play right into sort of his hands, because he will be staying up the hill. But the problem is, if it is heavy, it counts against my Some Chaos bet. I think I'm probably going to get one of the other ground dependent, but I think at the prices, I think I can maybe sneak a place, maybe 5 places on the exchange.
Yeah.
The Some Chaos is probably the one I fancy more. The stables horses are running really, really well, and I think that was just a prep run last time out. So I prefer it to be good to soft. I think I've got a squeak to get into a place. I looked quite progressive last season and will stay. I don't think this is a solid race either. I got cut up.
Yeah, I think there will be. There's a few horses in here that have got a few different entries over the weekend. For me, I even looking at it now, this is really hard. Like on the blind side, I looked at him. I've been asked to do a Tote to 10 kind of stable tour with Gigi and Racing Tips, and I was looking over a week ago, because this is one of the bonus races, and I was looking at the current prices thinking, what could I put up for this race? And on the blind side was the one I came down with, and he was 25-1 when I looked at it. And then I saw like a few other people, like the few following days after that, just put up on the blind side in their stables. And I wanted to wait for the weekend, obviously, for the Altior and the Bristol Domain and Translation kind of judgments before I made my final selection. And I'm like, now the price is just gone, and I'm like, for goodness sake. I think on the blind side, potentially could be a 160 rated chaser. I think he's got definitely scope from that mark of 149. If you actually go back to his last year, was a complete write-off for him, really. He was a really good hurdler. Won a grade 2, or 2 grade 2s, I should say, at Cheltenham and Sandown. And then he kind of had a setback and didn't go to the Cheltenham Festival. And then his campaign has been really muddling since. But on his second start over fences last season, he actually beat Talk is Cheap quite comprehensively in a really decent novice chase at Kempton. Very comfortable. And if he replicates anywhere near that kind of form, he's got to be rated at least £5-6 better than his mark of 149. I just think he's a bit ground dependent. He won't want it to get too soft. But I was looking at the weather forecast earlier, and towards the end of the week, we might have a bit of a dry spell, so that could help. He would definitely be on my radar. Mr. Malarkey, if you'd asked me towards the end of last season, would have been probably my horse for this race, but I just think he's maybe a bit high in the weights now. Elegant Escape could definitely be a major player. Just his jumping can be a bit dodgy sometimes, but he stays all day. And if there is plenty of juice still in the ground and it hasn't dried out, he could definitely be a major player still, even under a top weight. The one horse that I did think was really interesting, I've got two more horses I should mention. The horse I thought was really interesting was Yala Enki for Paul Nicholls. Used to be with Venetia Williams, and always ran in really good races. Can go well fresh as well. And has already got Bryony Frost booked for the race on Saturday. So they're obviously getting this one out now, and very versatile on all kinds of ground. If I remember correctly, he actually won at the Grand National Trial, beating Black Lion by 54 lengths a couple of years ago. So on his day, he could be a very capable horse, and he's interesting that he's gone to Paul Nicholls. But the one, talking about the different profile that you're on about, Rupert, about the older horses, not the sexy horse, the one that I thought actually could still have a bit of scope off their mark is Joe Farrell for Rebecca Curtis. Now, I actually put this one up when it won the Scottish Grand National, and it still remains my biggest price tip I've ever given on YouTube at 33-1. And he was always a horse I wanted to keep on the side, and he ran a blinder at Newbury on his on one of his final starts of the season last year before going to the Grand National. And just looking at his record since, he ran in a race at Chepstow in a veteran race, and he ran a good race and probably needed the run. He's always a horse that needs to come on for a run, and he only just finished in a really close third place, and the form's already been boosted because Perfect Candidate for Fergal O'Brien went and won at the weekend at Haydock, so there's been a boost in the form level there. He'll stay all day. And if we're going maybe an experienced horse route, he would be my angle in. So if I had to give my number one selection, I'm going to have to go over on the blind side, because you should always trust your first instinct. But I do like a few others, and I could probably have a bet on about 5 or 6, to be honest with you, which I might still do. But yeah, on the blind side is my number one. Is it some chaos for you, Marcus?
Yeah, Declan Dyke and some chaos winning place. But as I said, I'd probably play the better exchange so I can maybe get 5 or 6 places, maybe sneak a place at a price.
Yeah, and for you, Rupert, who's your final selections?
I'm gonna go for York Hill. Actually, I fancy it. I think it'd be really interesting.
Well, we'll definitely be coming to you for the drinks if he wins, because I think it'd be the greatest miracle in racing, probably, wouldn't it? If you won a race like this.
I don't know. I just have that feeling. I don't know what it is. Been running in good company.
I've heard everybody that loves that horse say, "Oh, York Hill, don't." Whenever he's had an entry over the last few years, "Oh, York Hill."
Yeah.
But yeah, fair play. If it comes out and happens, then we'll all be hailing to your praises. But it's going to be a great race, and looking forward to it. We're going to move on to the Sunday now. There's plenty of good Grade 1 action, but probably the pick of them is the Hatton's Grace Hurdle, and this has the potential to be an absolute cracking race. We've got the likes of Bacardi's, Colalto Vic, Penn Hill possibly, Apples Jade, Benny's de Jure, and Honeysuckle all in the provisional entries at this stage. I mean, I'll open it up to you guys. Yeah, I'm quite a sucker for Honeysuckle here. Do you like her chances, or are you with another horse?
I think she reminds me of the way she travels. She reminds me of Dungleb, the way it just comes in on the bridle and wins easy. visually very, very impressive. But I think the question is, what is the horse beating? This is obviously the biggest challenge the horse has faced so far. Apple's Jade, I think there's questions about her. I mean, that got turned over at Fours On. I mean, getting a £7 swing in the weights with the Cardis, top one, would that be enough? Even looking at the betting right now, I mean, top one's 5-1. Apple's Jade's actually shorter, so I think it's quite bizarre. I'm not sure about the trip, Apple's Jade either. I mean, I think it's between Benders. I mean, which Willie Mullins horses are not going to turn up, so we can work this out. I mean, I don't think Penn Hill will turn up. Will Vic turn up?
Don't know.
So, you knock that. I mean, Penn Hill needs a run. Though,
yeah, I mean, it's
probably you're going to have Maker in front. Suckle and Benders are both travelling, coming there strongly, and I think Benders are both going to outstay the Henry Bromhead. Really, or how do you think it's going to go? Visually very impressive, but Benders have both probably got much stronger form. Could win the race. I mean, course and distance winner. The grounds, no issue. I think it's a straight match bet between the two of them.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to see what lines up. I'll be against Benny Desjeux, in my opinion. I'm just
off level weights.
I just wonder. She's very consistent horse, but I do question some of her form.
Really? I mean, I'm looking at just now. I mean, that fall when Ruby fell off at Cheltenham again. I mean, she's undefeated. To me.
Well, part of me would want to say Roxana would have won there. That's only because I was on Roxana that day.
Yeah.
The reason I question some of her form is she's only really been in mares races. Okay, I know she's taken on Honeysuckle, which is a mare, and Apple's Jade, but you know, I just wonder if maybe
Honeysuckle could be a superstar. Honeysuckle could be a superstar. I mean, if it wins on the bridle here, I mean, superstar, you know.
Yeah, I mean, she's definitely the hype horse. She's actually never lost over obstacles. She even won her point to point. She actually beat Annie Mack, who's not a bad mare for John Joe Neal, owned by the Coral Group, even though she disappointed earlier in the week. Yeah, I mean, she could be top class.
Do you think she's a 3 miler over time? Do you think they'll keep her to 2-4? Or what do you think?
I saw an interview with Rachel Blackmore today, and they were quite keen to keep her at 2.5 miles would be a trip, but maybe in time she could get 3 miles. Are you a fan of Honeysuckle, Rupert?
Yeah, I think she'll stay at 2.5 because I think they want to perhaps target that new novice, that new mare's chase. I don't know, and I think that's over 2 mile 4. I think that seems to be a plan. I think Honeysuckle could very well win. I also think Penn Hill's being campaigned a bit differently this year, as in rather than run him in about 2 races, they're going to actually run him in like a good number of races, which I think's good. There's quite a lot of questions to ask. I mean, Penn Hill could come out and win it. I think Bacardi's, now he's being campaigned over hurdles, could also come forward. I wouldn't be for Apple's Jade. But I just think Benny Desjeux is brilliant. I think she's a fantastic horse. Right, I do take the point about not only running in mares races, but I mean, absolutely having the measure of some very, very top mares who've mixed it with the boys. That would be my one thing. And I just think you can't go too wrong. I think you could go a lot worse than backing Benny Desjeux at 6-4. I think will always deliver, and that's who I'd be on, certainly.
Yeah, I mean, you can't. Well, maybe I'm just being a bit critical of that, but yeah, I mean, I just think I just think she could be a bit vulnerable to something special, which could be Honeysuckle. I just think the vibes that everybody keeps hearing from Henry de Bromhead Yard is that she's very, very good. And I just want it was just so gutting last year that she didn't go to the Cheltenham Festival because she just had that little niggle that kept her out. And then when she went to the Irish Grand National meeting at Ferryhouse, she won that race with so much ease. I mean, she didn't beat probably that much, but still, the way she did it was very impressive. And maybe the run under her belt as well might just help her come on against maybe Benny Desir, who can go well fresh, but sometimes, especially maybe if the ground's on the testing side, first time out, it can be a bit of an arse to win. But yeah, Honeysuckle for me in this race. So Benny Desir for you, Rupert?
Yeah, I'll go Benny Desir.
And who are you with, Marcus?
I like Honeysuckle. Only a 5, but I think the trip's perfect. I'd definitely be against Apple's Jade. I mean, I potentially even look to maybe laying that not to be in the first 3. I mean, even money or odds on, you'd be all over that. I think she'll get found out. I think the bottom one's quite interesting. I mean, obviously, from Authorised, getting a slight weight allowance as well. I mean, she could run into a place big price, 16-1. Got a bit to find on the ratings, but as you say, there's a couple in here that got a few question marks. I mean, Palovic's 10-year-old, probably the best he could be passed to start with. That'd be my 2. Honeysuckle at 7-2 for the win, and a bet Surrey way at 16s. Okay.
Yeah, well, it's going to be a very good race on Sunday. There's a couple of other grade ones over there, and also as well some other decent racing throughout the weekend. We come to the any other business part of the show now, where we talk about maybe a few horses that we haven't mentioned so far. I'll come to you, Rupert, here. I think we were quite keen off air to speak about some of the novice chasers running over the weekend, the likes of Champ, Reserve Tank. Anything you want to talk about there?
Well, also, I mean, not just that, but the sort of intermediate chasers, if you like. I think there's just some really good racing on. I haven't got a tip as such, but I was up for talking about whether we think Champ is on a worthy odds-on shot, really. I just think it's quite an interesting discussion. The jury's still out on him for me.
I mean, I think he beat a good field on Chase debut. I mean,
yeah, Dashel Drasher. Yeah.
There were some nice horses in there. Dashel Drasher, High Sun for Colin Tizard. Probably didn't let the form down, finishing second at Ascot. You know, I mean, he ran a fair race and he didn't look like he wanted to jump that way around at all. It was a very, if you were on him like me, it was a very scary ride to watch. That horse kept jumping left all the time, and but I think you can forgive him that run. But still, he was against some good horses in that race. Beakstown as well. I mean, who else is there really in the 3 mile division yet that we've really thought looks top draw? We all know that Champ is most likely to go for the RSA. I don't think he'll go for the JLT. Are you a fan of Champ, Marcus?
I think Rupert makes a good point. I don't think this is an egg and spoon race. I mean, I think Reserve Tank's solid. 5 to 4 short enough for me. 5 to 4 short. I mean, Nichols has got one in the race as well. Master Tommy Tucker, I mean, potentially could come on for the run.
I'm not sure he'll run. He actually won at Kempton yesterday, but he was very nice. Yeah,
that's probably a good point. I don't think he'll run. I think Blackop would have a chance as well. 5 to 2. I mean,
he won the
run as well.
Right?
And Alan King's got 2 in the race as well. I mean, Fiddix and Der Karajak. I mean, they 2 could have a sniff as well. I mean, would you really want to be going in at 5 to 4 here? Short enough.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of these have got different options to go to. So I think if we were playing in these races, kind of watch, see where they go.
Yeah.
I mean, if we had to go for, I know he was comprehensively beaten by Champ, but Dashel Drasher is a really admirable horse.
Yeah.
Last year, over hurdles, he beat some nice horses, and definitely, I think, will be one to keep on side this season.
Wasn't disgraced at Newbury. Wasn't disgraced at Newbury.
No.
11-1, 12-1 against a 5-4. Potentially be an each way bet to nothing.
Yeah, he won.
Was factoring the price as well, and you're getting a bit of value there because it's sort of not renowned as sort of a big name. No disrespect to Scott, but
Yeah, he does have, when he gets a nice horse on his hands, he can definitely do well with them. And they're always at nice prices normally. I think he's got a nice horse as well called Champagne Court that could be one to follow novice handicaps this year. Won a couple of races already over fences. So, yeah, definitely Dashel Drasher could be one to maybe spoil the apple cart in some of these races. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about, Rupert, in your summary?
Well, I think the 150 at Newbury is an interesting race. I haven't really got anything particular to put forward. I think When You're Ready, Freddie has some very strong form in the book, beating Azerti and Kildesart while giving £6 away as a novice. Maybe fitness played on his side. He could be worth a bet at 10-1 in the 150. Kalashnikov's 7-2 favourite. Glenn Forcer's racing as well. I think that's a very interesting race. Yeah. I don't know what your thoughts on that race are.
Yeah, Glenn Forcer was meant to be like the second coming last year, wasn't he, for the Arkle? I remember hearing a story that the guy from the head lad at Mick Shannon's went into the Coral Bookies at Sandown before he absolutely walked the rearranged Kingmaker chase when he beat Kalashnikov, not by 19 lengths, and the guy from Mick Shannon's yard, he went into the bookies there before the race, and he got, I think it was 66-1 on Glenn Forcer to win the Arkle.
Right.
And then after that race, I think he went down to about a short of 7-2.
Yeah.
So, but then obviously he disappointed, didn't he?
He got unseated. What can you do?
Yeah. I don't think I'm not sure if he would have won. But yeah. That would have been some story if that had come off. But yeah, Kalashnikov, I thought he ran respectably at Aintree against Forrest Behan, who is a very useful tool on his day. Obviously won the Betfair hurdle at Newbury before, so track no issue. Yeah, I think there's a lot to like about Kalashnikov this season, and be interesting to see if maybe he could develop into a Ryanair contender possibly. But yeah, I think I like to see what the declarations are before the race, because again, like a lot of these races, they're going to cut up, and some horses could go elsewhere potentially that hold an entry at the moment. So is that your roundup?
Well, I've got two nice horses on at Newcastle on the Saturday.
Okay.
12.55 Imperial Alcazar. Very smart bumper form this year. Won on reappearance on his maiden hurdle. The horse in third, Big Bad Bear, has gone out and won a Class 2, I think, novice hurdle. And then on the last race, which at Newcastle, which I know you have a little fancy in, I really like Topville Ben. I think he ran a brilliant race in the Charlie Hall last time on reappearance. If he gets out the front and starts leaping like he does, he might be quite hard to peg back. And Phil Kirby he'll quite like Newcastle. But yeah, that'd be my pick for the race.
Yeah, definitely some ones to follow there. Marcus, was there anything in your roundup that you fancied that we hadn't covered?
I think it's Buveur there. Loses, I think we're all in trouble. But that's probably enough for me.
Okay.
I like the one. What was the one I liked earlier? I'm probably just looking forward to the racing in Ireland. I can't wait to see this. I'm quite intrigued to see what Apple's Jade does and see Honeysuckle. That's probably going to be the highlight for me. I'm just hoping that she can do the business and turn it to be a superstar.
Yeah,
crossed.
Definitely follow the racing over there. There'll be probably some Cheltenham clues in there. Just one to mention my roundup. It's the same race that Rupert was just talking about, the 320. Always really good race. Can often throw up a grand Grand National contender, this can often shake up the market in that race. I've seen down the years. It's not actually been an unlucky race for me, if I remember. I think I've been on horses at really good prices that have either just been touched off or fallen at the last. It's always a race that I always pay attention to. But the one I quite liked at a price was a horse for James Hewitt called Ascot de Bruyere. Now, this horse, if you go back through a lot of its form, is one of these northern horses that races at a lot of the northern tracks, like Wetherby, Newcastle, Kelso. So he knows this track very well. He's a previous course winner on heavy ground over the trip, so that won't be an issue for him at all. And he ran a really encouraging race at Wetherby last time out, which was probably a prep race for this. He finished third to Creve Hill, who went and boosted the form by winning very easily at Haydock the other day. And I just thought if he was a double figure price on the day, I would want to keep him on side. So that's Ascot de Bruyere for me. So final thing before we sign off, I want everybody's naps because it was all a shocking one last week. I'll come to you first, Marcus. Get out of the way, Buveur. You can have Buveur if you want, Marcus.
Buveur. Yeah.
And to you, Rupert, who's your nap?
Buveur. I'm living furiously. Should do the
excluding my filthy naps on the all weather, I think I do quite like that Imperial Alcazar. I think that's really strong form. I'd be going with him in that race at Newcastle.
Yeah, and I'm gonna go for Ascot de Bruyere for me at a bit of a price. Hopefully can go close. So thanks for joining us this week, lads. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe here to our YouTube channel at Lucky Loads 15. You can also follow the podcast now on SoundCloud as well. There'll be a link in the description below, and give us a thumbs up. And you can follow me on Twitter as well at Lucky Loads 15. So that's all I've got to say. Please gamble responsibly, and we'll be seeing you soon.